Hello, my name is Felicia Petway, founder and creator of Pause Heal Love Community, a community focusing on self-love and wellness using holistic tools and modalities. In this video, we are going to dive into each center of the human design body graph. I am going to give an overview of the center, dive into the defined and undefined aspects of each center, as well as give you the wisdom and some questions for undefined centers. Here is a brief overview of what human design is. You can also watch my first video, Introduction to Human Design, where I introduce the system in more depth. I like to start each video with an inspirational quote. So today's quote is, "When you know yourself, you are empowered. When you accept yourself, you are invincible." There are 9 energy centers in our body. Each center is responsible for processing specific energy. Centers can be open or undefined, and those are your white centers. An open center has no active gates. So if you look at the head center at the very top where the blue dot is, that is an open center. It is completely white and there is no color whatsoever. Undefined centers will have at least one active gate. So if you go down to the mind ajna center here, you see the 2 numbers are colored red. Those are active gates, which makes this an undefined center. In open centers, the absorption and amplification of others' energy is more emphasized, but more importantly, you don't have a familiar way of accessing the energy. So sometimes this can make you confused. This can feel confusing. Open centers are more prone to conditioning, and conditioning would mean feeling not enough or feeling as if you don't have enough of something. Open, undefined centers have inconsistent energy that varies depending on your environment, other people, and your mood. You may also feel unnecessary pressure from undefined centers, as well as absorb the energy from those with defined centers. It's important to make sure you check in with yourself when it comes to your undefined centers. With undefined and open centers, if we recognize that we are not supposed to be living in those centers in a prescribed and consistent way, we can actually become quite wise about the nature of that center and the appropriate way of navigating it. Defined centers have fixed and consistent energy. This energy is always available to you and it radiates out to others. These are your colored centers of your body graph. Let's start at the top with the head crown center. The head center is a pressure center. It is the center for ideas, inspiration, and mental pressure. Biologically, the head center is connected to the pineal gland. It is meant to be filled with questions, not answers. The head center works together with the ajna, mind center. The thought starts in the head and finishes in the ajna. Another way to look at it is the question starts in the head, the answer is given in the ajna. Let's take a look at a defined head center. That would mean it was colored in. 30% of the population have a defined head center. The energy of this center is always on. This defined head center is always radiating inspiration out into the world, has a consistent source of inspiration, and is mentally inspiring for other people. Those with a defined head center are always asking questions and may feel something is wrong if they don't have an answer. Having a defined head center means you have a pressure to know things. In a healthy state, people with defined head centers know that confusion, doubt, and clarity are unnatural. are a natural process. They also, in a healthy state, have the ability to uplift and empower others with both insights and inspiration. If you have a defined head and you are in an unhealthy state, you may turn mental pressure inward, causing deep anxiety, self doubt, or depression. You also would attempt to resolve pressure by making hasty mental decisions. Remember that in human design, the mind is not meant to be used for making decisions. You're meant to use your strategy in order to make aligned decisions, not your mind. Let's talk about the undefined head center. 70% of the population have an undefined head center. Having an undefined head center means being under pressure to think about things that don't matter. It also means not having a consistent way to receive inspiration. Those with an undefined head center are meant to engage in possibility, to question and imagine, not to know the answers. Those with an undefined head center can feel confused and overwhelmed in knowing what to focus on. It is easy to feel inspired all of the time having an undefined head center, and one may feel pressure to act on all of this inspiration. But remember, you're meant to allow the inspiration to flow through you, and then using your strategy and authority to decide on what actually feels inspiring to you. Having an undefined head center means you're able to take in the energy of the world and you also amplify that energy. In a healthy state, having an undefined head center means you won't act on mental pressure. You are open to new insights and mental sparks coming from those within their aura. In an unhealthy state, you can easily become lost, scattered, or overwhelmed by someone else's doubt or confusion. You also may have the pressure to solve other people's questions as soon as possible, which prevents you from emptying out all of the stuff in your heads and being able to relax. So, the wisdom in an undefined head center is to be wise about inspiration and ideas. You have an infinite range of intellectual possibilities. So, a question to ask yourself if you have an undefined head center is, do I have to answer this? And is this mine or someone else's? Next is the Ajna Mind Center, which is an awareness center. It is the center for research, concrete thinking, analysis, opinions, and beliefs. Biologically, the ajna is located in the pituitary glands. It works together with the head center. The mind is not meant for making decisions. Let's talk about the defined ajna. 51% of the population have defined ajnas. The energy of the center is always on. The defined ajna or mind center is designed to hold information that stays with you pretty much forever. You have a fixed way of thinking and viewing the world, and you're more inclined to trust your intuition. People with a defined ajna center are very sure of what they know and believe. They can also be very certain. This doesn't necessarily mean you're right or that their truth is the only truth. That just means that they just can be very certain. In a healthy state, one is able to speak their mind, think in a specific way, and have consistent mental processes. A person with an unhealthy defined ajna can feel inadequate or like a hypocrite because they don't necessarily follow through on their word. Let's look at an undefined ajna or mind center. 49% of the population have an undefined ajna. The energy of this center, when it's undefined, is inconsistent. People with an undefined ajna or mind center are more open-minded. They are They recognize that there are many ways to figure things out. They are able to see many sides of an issue. And if they're able to relax, they can become great mind readers. Fear and conditioning leads to the belief of those with undefined ajnas that one needs to be certain about things to appear intelligent. So, in a healthy state, having an undefined ajna, they are able to discern and judge which concepts have value and which do not. In an unhealthy state, having an undefined ajna, one has deep fears about not being certain. Trust your strategy and authority and let go of your need for certainty. You have an undefined ajna for a reason. You are not designed to be certain. You are designed to be open. So, some questions to ask yourself. Do I have to be certain about this? Am I holding on to concepts that do not serve me? Am I being rigid in my beliefs? Now let's take a look at the throat center. This is the center for communication, manifestation, and expression. Biologically, the throat is related to the thyroid. The throat center is the primary focus of the entire body graph. Therefore, it is under tremendous pressure. All of the energy flow in the body graph is under pressure to get to the throat because it is the center for deliberate action and communication. You speak and act based upon which center is connected to the throat. 71% of the population have a defined throat center. Those with a defined throat center have a fixed style of speaking and or acting. Those with a defined throat are designed to speak, but how they speak is controlled by the center that their throat center is connected to. So, for example, if one's throat is connected to the Ajna mind center, then that person will speak their mind. In order to be heard with a defined throat, you must communicate according to your strategy. Manifestors and manifesting generators can just talk. Generators need to wait to respond, and projectors need to wait to be invited to speak. Consistent access to what you want to say when inspired, and people listen when you have a defined throat. People with a defined throat connected to a motor can always do, but it doesn't mean they should always do. In a healthy state, those with a defined throat speak from their definition. When you know where your voice comes from, you can express yourself correctly and not feel guilty doing so. When in an unhealthy state, having a defined throat, one may talk too much or does too much. They also give away energy away to every impulse. 29% of the population have an undefined throat. Having an undefined throat, one may feel pressure to attract attention, to talk, and to manifest. The undefined throat is an amplification tool, which is designed to attract attention. So if you have an undefined throat, all you simply have to do is wait to receive attention. When you are silent, your aura does the talking. People will be drawn to you and want to know what you think. Those with an undefined throat center can be very good at speaking foreign languages and impersonating other people's speech. In a healthy state, those with an undefined throat, they do not try to control what they say. They enjoy the different voices and forms of expression that comes through them. They are comfortable with silence. In an unhealthy state, having an undefined throat, one may want to be noticed and may be prone to talking too much. They also may spend a lot of mental energy figuring out what to say next. So, the wisdom of the undefined throat is that you can have a deep understanding that listening is more powerful than speaking. Some questions to ask yourself with an undefined throat center is: am I trying to attract attention? Do I have to say this in a specific way? So now let's take a look at the identity center, also known as the G center. This is one of the most important centers of human design. It is the center of love, direction, and purpose. Biologically, this center is related to the liver and the blood. It's where our soul is located. 46 of the 46% of the population have a defined identity center. Having a defined identity center means you have fixed and reliable self-identity. You have a strong sense of direction, and your guidance system is based on your love of self. Having a defined identity center means you are here to give love by being love. In a healthy state, having a defined identity center means you're comfortable with your identity, self love, and the direction of your life. In an unhealthy state, having a defined identity center, you try to direct or lead others without waiting to be asked or invited. 54% of the population have an undefined identity or G center. Having an undefined identity center means you have no fixed identity. It means your direction will change and pivot. It also means that your identity will change around different groups and will also change in different stages. Those with an undefined identity center tend to question their lovability and direction. You take in love in many forms and can deeply understand love. In an unhealthy state, having an undefined identity center, one moves through life as they are shown the next step. They do not become attached to people who take them to the correct place or love. They simply thank them and move on. In a healthy state, one can see another's true identity and are comfortable with all types of people. In an unhealthy state, having an undefined identity center, one may live their life obsessed with where they are headed and when and where they are going to find love. They also can become obsessed with labels in their search for identity. The wisdom in an undefined identity center is you have a strong ability to help others see their lovability and direction. Some questions to ask yourself: having an undefined identity center is: am I still looking for love? Am I still looking for purpose and direction in life? Is this the way for me? The heart, will, or ego center. The will center is a motor center. The will center drives willpower and ego. Biologically, this center connects to our hearts, our stomach, our gallbladder, and our thymus. The heart will center is responsible for manifesting things on the physical plane. We receive material support in relation to how much we value ourselves and our place in the world. This is the center that pushes us forward in life and fuels our heart's desire. 35% of the population have a defined heart, will, ego center. Having a defined heart or will center means you have consistent access to willpower. You like to be in control of your life and your resources. You also know your worth. In a healthy state, having a defined heart center means you are designed to work and then rest, and you understand that about yourself. In an unhealthy state, having a defined heart center, one can become egoistic, and too forceful and egotistic, not egoistic. 65% of the population have an undefined heart. Having an undefined heart center means you are not designed to be willful and competitive. Those with an undefined heart center seek to prove themselves through action. They try to accomplish more than anybody else as a way to prove their worth. Those with an undefined heart center struggle with their worth and may take less than they deserve as a result. In a healthy state, having an undefined heart center, one is at peace with themselves and have nothing to prove to anyone. In an unhealthy state, having an undefined heart center, one can feel less worthy than others and may engage in foolish acts to prove themselves. The wisdom of an undefined heart will center is that you're here to be wise about worthiness and what's truly valuable in life. Some questions to ask yourself having an undefined heart center is, do I feel and think I have something to prove? The solar plexus center, also referred to as the emotional solar plexus center, is an awareness center and a motor center. Biologically, this center relates to the lungs, kidneys, pancreas, prostate gland, and the nervous system. Energetically, this center governs our feelings, sensitivities, desires, and emotions. This center is the most intense of all 9 centers. 50% of the population have a defined solar plexus. Having a defined solar plexus center means you carry emotional energy with you at all times. People with this center defined are here to wade through the ups and downs of the emotional wave before making decisions. People with a defined solar plexus center are here to demonstrate emotional intelligence and are here to show others what it means to experience emotions in a healthy way. They also are here to demonstrate that one should never make decisions when in your feelings. In a healthy state, having a defined solar plexus, one is never impulsive and they take time making decisions. In an unhealthy state, having a defined solar plexus, one may blow up when upset rather than waiting to calm down. They later regret what they said or did. 50% of the population have an undefined solar plexus. Having an undefined solar plexus means you are open to other people's feelings. You experience other people's energy in an amplified way. This makes you very empathic. In a healthy state, having an undefined solar plexus means you do not make emotional decisions. In an unhealthy state, having an undefined solar plexus means you may repeatedly make spontaneous emotional decisions. It also may mean you avoid confrontation by developing a quote unquote nice persona. The wisdom of an undefined solar plexus center is you can see and understand emotional wellness in others. One question to ask yourself having an undefined solar plexus is, am I avoiding truth and confrontation? Now let's take a look at the spleen center. The spleen center is an awareness center. It is connected to our most primal survival driven awareness, and the energy of this center is instant. It's in the now and instinctual. Biologically, this center is connected to the lymphatic system, the spleen, and the T cells. The spleen center is responsible for our immune system working properly and our overall well being. This center helps us process what is healthy for our survival or not. Now, the thing with the spleen center is that it holds our intuition, and our intuition speaks once, quietly, and because it is in the now, it will not repeat itself. 53% of the population have a defined spleen center. Those with a defined spleen center consistently have access to their intuition and instincts. They are designed to be in the moment and decide in the now. Those with a defined spleen are designed to be intuitive and need to make sure that they follow their gut. Those with a defined spleen can light up a room with the spleens radiating good feeling. They also have a strong immune system. If you're sick often with a defined spleen, it's because you're ignoring your senses and your signals. Now, as a result of ignoring those senses and signals, one with a defined spleen tends to get really sick because they've ignored their senses and signals that something is off, and usually won't see a doctor until it's really bad. So those with a defined center need to be reminded that our body's knowing is here to guide and protect us. In a healthy state, having a defined spleen means one listens to their intuition and take action based on their instincts and intuition. In an unhealthy state, having a defined spleen, they are completely out of touch with messages from their spleen center, placing their lives at risk. 47% of the population have an undefined spleen center. Those with an undefined spleen center may have an intense fundamental fear that they cannot survive. They are sensitive to the state of their health and how they feel. Those with an undefined spleen may hold on to things that are not good for them in an effort to gain a sense of security. Having an undefined spleen means you can be medically empathic, meaning you can sense other people's physical health and wellness, taking on the symptoms of others. Having an undefined spleen means you have a sensitive immune system. In a healthy state, having a undefined spleen means you pay attention to your health and you are healthy. In an unhealthy state, having an undefined spleen means you have a habit of making spontaneous decisions, which may be to your detriment. So, the wisdom of intuition here for undefined spleen centers is that intuition of knowing how it works, who has access to theirs, and the various forms of your intuition. Some questions to ask yourself with an undefined spleen is: am I holding on to the relationships, jobs, places that are not good for me? The sacral center is a motor center. The sacral center holds the vital life force energy that empowers us to endure hardships and challenges and fuels our growth and expansion. Biologically, this center is associated with the sexual organs. When we honor our strategy and authority, we have power and we create more energy. The sacral center is the most powerful and only sustainable motor in human design. 70% of the population have a defined sacral center, which means 70% of the population are either generators or manifesting generators. A person with a defined sacral center has enormous power at his or her disposal. The power of the sacral turns on when you respond to something in the world outside of yourself, not in the head or the mind. It is very important for those with a defined sacral to express themselves through the right work. It's also important For those with a defined sacral, to use up your energy and go to bed tired every night. The manifesting generator has a slight variation on that. In a healthy state, those with a defined sacral love their work and at the end of the day feel satisfied their energy was well used. In an unhealthy state, those with a defined sacral feel exhausted and frustrated with life and work. They are not happy with how their energy is being used. 30% of the population have an undefined sacral center. That means they do not have access to consistent energy. People with an undefined sacral get energy from other people and other sources. It also means those with an undefined sacral, their energy comes and goes, which means they must rest often. In a healthy state, those with an undefined sacral are relaxed and enjoy rest. In an unhealthy state, having an undefined sacral, you will find someone who is always busy with work and family, and they never know when to quit. The wisdom in an undefined sacral center means that you are here to be wise about boundaries, work, and rest. Questions to ask yourself having an undefined sacral. Do I stop when I need rest? Do I know when enough is enough? The root center is a pressure center and a motor center. Biologically, the root center is associated with the adrenal glands and stress hormones. The root center brings pressure to evolve and adapt to the world and to life itself. This center houses motivation and drive. 68% of the population have a defined root center. That means they have a consistent internal way of processing pressure. This also means they have a fixed way of dealing with stress and the pressures of life. In a healthy state, having a defined root center means they let their strategy and authority guide them. In an unhealthy state, having a defined root means they can be obsessive, depressed, and project excess stress onto others. 32% of the population have an undefined root center. That means people with an undefined root take in stress coming from the outside world. It also means they are always under pressure, which is uncomfortable for them. Because remember, having an undefined center means you amplify that energy. It also means having an undefined root that they take in the energy, fuel, and pressure of defined root centers and magnify it into a stress they are not equipped to handle. In a healthy state, having an undefined root, they know when pressure is correct for them and when it is not. In an unhealthy state, having an undefined root, they operate unconsciously, allowing this pressure to run their lives and to make their decisions, which can lead to adrenal burnout. So the wisdom of the undefined root is you can be wise around boundaries and relaxation. A question to ask yourself with an undefined root is, am I always in a hurry to get things done, to be free of the pressure? So here are some next steps I would recommend for those of you wanting to work in alignment with your design. Journal on what rings true for you in each of your centers, whether they're defined or undefined. Start focusing on one or two centers and check in with yourself to make sure you are using your strategy and authority as often as possible. These are the references I used for this presentation. If you like this video, feel free to share it with your family and friends. And don't forget to like and subscribe to my channel. Sending you many blessings.